Good afternoon. It is April the 14th, 2024. It's the third Sunday in the Easter season. And today we have, in our reflection, in our readings, we have Jesus appearing to the apostles in the upper room and reminding them that everything in the law, the prophets, and the Psalms must be fulfilled in his coming. And we sometimes forget that. And in the first reading, Peter in the Acts of the Apostle is talking to the people about their ignorance, their lack of knowledge. And ignorance is an interesting thing because there's being willfully ignorant, there's being ignorant because it's never come to mind, or there's an ignorant where I sort of know, but I'm not really completely interested in finding out. The example I use is if I take a group of people up to northern Alberta and I let them out in the wilderness in the middle of December and tell them I'll pick them up in a month. Well, how many of them would survive? Because many people are ignorant to survival skills. But that's because they don't have the knowledge. If they had the knowledge, they probably would do fine. But if you don't have the knowledge, then you're in trouble. But willful ignorance, that's when we know that we should be learning something, but we're deliberately choosing not to work on it. And that's our relationship with Jesus Christ. Oftentimes, yes, I know Jesus. I know about Jesus. It's up here. But the most important part about knowing Jesus is what takes place in the heart. The example I use is, a wife might know what the husband's favorite meal is. And, when you recognize he's having a bad day, maybe she makes it for him. Or parents may know what their children's favorite meal is, and their birthday is coming up, and so you make that meal for the children because you know them. Or the husband, and this often happens where the husband thinks he knows what his wife's favorite meal is, and he goes ahead and makes it, and then discovers that he wasn't really paying attention like he should. Or maybe he's one of those people out there that actually really does know. And then there's that joy that comes with the knowing. In the Mass, we have two parts. We have the liturgy of the Word, liturgy of the Eucharist. The liturgy of the Word is designed to facilitate this, my knowledge of God. The liturgy of the Eucharist, on the other hand, is to facilitate this knowledge of God. Jesus walked along the road to Emmaus with his disciples, and he broke open the scriptures for them, liturgy of the Word. But when they sat down at the meal and Jesus broke the bread, and in the breaking of the bread their eyes were opened, and they realized that their hearts had been on fire for Christ that whole journey, but it was only in the breaking of the bread that they come to recognize what was in front of them. When Jesus appears to them in the upper room and he takes that morsel of broiled fish and he consumes it to challenge them and to remind them that he is truly present. Do we understand the same thing? Jesus' prayer to his Father that you and I might be one with Christ as Christ is one with the Father. Well, where does that moment take place? That moment takes place every time you and I receive the Eucharist. Every time we consume Christ, we have that oneness with Christ. Sadly, it's not completely concrete. It's somewhat fleeting. It'd be nice to say that I've consumed Jesus and he's fully with me. I've received the Spirit, and therefore where the Spirit is, the Father and Son are also. But that union, that intimate union in the reception of the Eucharist is something very, very powerful because it comes to the heart. The heart is the source of life for all of us. My heart stops beating, I'm dead. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus tells us, if you do not eat my body and drink my blood, you will have no life within you. He's not talking about this. He's talking about this. He's trying to get through to our heart. Jesus tells us, love one another as I have loved you. Love the Father above all things, love one another as I have loved you. The source of everything is in that love. But do I get it? Do I reflect on it? Do I allow it to inform me? See, love covers a multitude of sins. Do I understand that? Is my intimacy relationship with Jesus Christ something that's up here, or is it something down here? And it has to be both. I need to know the life and story of Christ, but I also need to know the source and summit of my faith, which is the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. Both of them have to work together. Both of them have to find a balance between them. And if we pay attention, there is the Father, and there is the Son, and there is the Holy Spirit. We have to have the balance. We have to have that balance between our head and our heart. And when we look closely, we've just made the sign of the cross. May God continue to watch over you and protect you always. It is April 14th, 2024, the third Sunday of the Easter season. God bless.